Hello, Ria here. So last week or the week before last, I said I was going to do a weekly video, and I think I joked in it that by next week the momentum will have worn off, and it did, because I just completely overburnt. I overdid it, and it's a good reminder to us that we are human beings. We have cycles. We have, we have to honor our humanness and the fact that we can't just be flat out all the time. Like, that's when we get ill, if we don't look after our vehicle, which is our body, and our mind and all of it. We can't sustain it. So it's a really good lesson for me. And I was going to talk about soul perspectives today, but I feel inclined to talk about our maps of the world. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll record one about soul perspectives for next week maybe. So when we look at the map of the world, so when I talk about the map of the world, this is something I learned when I did my NLP training, probably about 20 years ago, NLP practitioner training. And one of the core concepts of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is about changing the wires in our brain, like the way that we think and our neural pathways and stuff. So one of the core concepts that you are taught in NLP is about how everyone's got a different map of the world. And the way that manifests is, if you had two people at a party at the same time, stood right next to each other, they're at the same time, like everything is exactly the same, and something happens, both of those individuals will witness that event completely differently. Their story and everything, the way they've perceived it, will be completely different. And neither of them are wrong. And this is where I think we get very unstuck as human beings. There's so much judgment and hate around people that are different and have a different opinion. And yet we can all be right, because it's all perception. The reason that those two people witness things so differently is because of their map of the world. And that our maps of the world are formed through our entire life that precedes that event. So from a young child all the way up to an adult, we will have had experiences, conversations, beliefs, feelings, all of that we've been through school, through work, through family, friends. Everything forms the way that we see the world and becomes our belief system. And so, if you're at school and a teacher comments on your artwork and makes out that maybe you're not naturally gifted in art, as a child, that becomes a belief about yourself. So you believe that you're no good at art, and so you stop trying. And as a grown-up, we never question the beliefs that we're holding. We just, I'm no good at art or maths or whatever it is for you, because a teacher told us when we were 5 that our drawing wasn't very good. So we carry that belief. And we're literally living our lives based on things and making decisions based on things that happened to our 5-year-old self, because they become ingrained. They are our map of the world. We have created that picture. And because someone in authority has told us, you're not naturally gifted in art, for instance, it becomes who we are. It's our belief system. So that's us. And so another child in the same group might have been really praised for their artwork, and then they've gone on to be like a famous artist, So all of these little defining moments, which are so insignificant at the time, it could be a throwaway comment from a teacher or a parent that really meant nothing. It was, and they weren't even thinking about it. They're just having a bad day. As a child, it creates this lasting impression which forms our map of the world, which we base everything upon in our grown-up life. And so if you have these two people at the event, they've both, whilst the event and everything is exactly the same, they both have a completely different narrative running in the background that colours and shapes the experience that they have at that event. And so we have to embrace the fact that we are all so different, and the way that we experience our expectations, the way that we and we can be so sure that what we've seen is correct and the other person is wrong. We've got to remind ourselves they may have a completely different viewpoint because of everything they've been to since since they were born. All those little tiny throwaway comments, things they've read. They will have consumed different TV programs, different books. They will have had different groups of friends. Their family's different. Like, everything's different. All the messaging's different, and therefore our beliefs are different. And so really understanding that just helps you when you come up against someone who is different from you and is maybe acting in a way that you can't make sense of. It's just a really good reminder to yourself to talk about the map of the world and just say, okay, they've obviously had a very different experience. So if someone is very angry and very, very just not someone that as sensitives, we are completely like people pleasing, like, here, let me just lie down and you walk over me because that feels better to me to just know that you're okay and, I can sort myself out later. If you then come up against someone who isn't like that and is like, great, can I jump up and down and use you as a trampoline as I'm walking over? We can start to go, well, that's really not right. That, I'm in the right, I'm trying to be kind over here and nice, and someone else is not. But what can take the heat out of that a little bit is understanding that they will have had a completely different experience to us growing up. So maybe they had to be the person that they've become in order to survive. Like, maybe that's how they were treated as a child. Maybe that's, we just don't know. Because when we meet people, we've got the surface level, like what's happening right now in their life, grown-up stuff. We never sit down and unpick, and probably for good reason, what's brought them and made them who they are as a child. Because that is where we get to learn about ourselves. That is where we get to understand why we react to certain situations in a certain way. Because there will be some program running in our brain. It's all program. It's all been programmed since we were born. All these stories, all these perceptions, all these belief structures, and they're all changeable. So if you've got something running in your head that just, you get triggered by something, or something happens, or you go into a situation, you've already made your mind up that everybody else in the room hates you, which is another sensitive issue, something that we do. We already think that everyone in the room doesn't like us. So we're bringing that story to the room, and probably, and I know I do this, I give quite standoffish vibes because I'm like in protection mode of going, don't come near me because you don't like me anyway, or whatever. We've got all that running around our heads all of the time. And so the first step is to acknowledge that we all have these different maps of the world, and also that we can change ours. If we have this map and that's how we're navigating through our lives, and something's holding us back or harming us, we get to change that at any moment. Like, we can literally rewire our brain. And so I've talked about NLP, but also EFT I'm a practitioner of. We can literally change our attachments to these beliefs, and just so that they're not even there. We don't even have them anymore. And that's such an amazing gift to be able to do, because if we end up a prisoner in our map, and it's not a healthy one, that the way that we're seeing the world is quite, like making us smaller than we need to be, and it's keeping us stuck, that's not healthy. So we can rewire our brains to have healthier thought patterns and beliefs and therefore behaviors, and everything starts to change. It really is. It all starts with those beliefs that make up that map that we're literally using as our navigation system. And it has been programmed from such a tiny age, where, especially now, the world is such a different place. So we're literally living by this completely outdated map that's not really serving us. And the world is so different. And I think that's why a lot of us are so stressed, because it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense to my map of the world. This is what makes sense here. Like, this is what I formed over 45 years. That makes sense to me. And now you're telling me this is, you know, so it's not making any sense. And so like our brains are like short-circuiting, going, oh yeah, and it leads to depression, anxiety, and all of the stuff, all of the good stuff that we get to deal with, because nothing is making sense anymore. And so it's really looking at that map and going, okay, like what are those? We're so unaware, we don't even stop and think, what are my belief systems? What are the thoughts cycles? What are the programs that are running? And how are they affecting me? Is it a good one? Could it be healthier? You know, that's how we start to make the changes. So I just wanted to share that. So, you know, on my YouTube channel, I don't want it all to be me just like, oh, here's all my stuff, everybody. But I will share that because I think it just makes you see, like, we're all human. We're all in it together. No one's got this figured out. And anyone that says they have has the most work to do, I think, because I think, you know, if we can sit here soul to soul and go like you know, we're not perfect, no one's perfect, and I think the chase to I mean, that's just a ridiculous even thing to even try and be. We're just not. We're messy, wonderful human beings, you know. But the mess is within that thought process that we can literally unpack and go, oh, that's the belief. Like, that core thing happened to me when I was 7 years old and it shaped my entire life. But isn't it amazing that I get to look at that and now unpick that and work out I'm safe without that belief. I can be safe, because that's all it is. It's just keeping us safe. All these programs are keeping us safe. If I do that, I got really told off when I was 7, so I'm not going to do that again for the rest of my eternity. And yet, as a grown-up, we can do different things. Do you know what I mean? You can see how harmful keeping those programs running can be and how much it can keep us stuck. So yeah, that's just I just think when I can remember really having a shift in my thought when I started my NLP practitioner course, like I said, I want to say 20 years ago. I have no idea how long ago I did it, probably longer than that. But I can remember that was one of the concepts we were taught, and we probably spent a whole day on it about understanding everybody's maps of the world. And I think I've said that a lot in this video. So, and I just thought it might help you in recognize and just being really aware, like if you feel triggered by something. I think for us sensitives, it's a really important thing, because it is all of what I've spoken about in this video that is creating this fear within us to speak our truth, that this fear of putting our own needs first. Something will have happened within our life from before we can even consciously remember that is making us the way that we are. And that's wonderful. And I love us. I think we're amazing, but it comes at a cost to our own being. And that's the bit I want to address. Like, it's all very well going through life and making sure everyone's happy, but now's our time. And we don't have to be like really hardcore, like I said in the last video. We don't have to like approach it with a sword. We can put the sword down and we can just gently love ourselves and give ourselves the courtesy of listening to what our needs are. And if someone is to get upset because we've put our own needs above their own, then do we need them in our lives? You know, there's a whole thing, and this isn't something you can just watch a YouTube video and everything changes. It's just to plant those seeds that we have these programs running. They're formed from literally birth. We've all got completely different narratives and stories going on, which is why we end up in situations where we're all different and we think the other person's crazy. Like, how can they possibly think that? Well, they do, because they've got a completely different setup to us. And when we start to unpick it and just be aware, so what I'd encourage you for the next week or so is just to be aware, like put yourself up on the perch and look down at yourself and go, interesting that I responded like that. I wonder why. And with NLP and EFT, what we do is we take you right back through the timeline and get to the bits where those beliefs were formed, and we start to change it and stuff, which is really exciting stuff. But yeah, so I wanted to share that with you, and I would love to hear your thoughts as always. So much love to you, and I shall see you next week. Bye.